Okay, welcome to Hashtag City. We are speaking with Patrick Stoops, aka P. Stoops. Welcome to the program.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. So I just wanted to start with before you became a turntablist, were you in other bands in Cleveland, and what did those consist of?
Yeah, I actually, I was a kind of a turntablist first in high school, and then in around the time I was 20, I was in a folk band called the Coloring Books, and then that, yeah, and we were, we had an album out, and after a while, we just ended up running through so many bassists and members, and everyone ended up leaving, and then there was a certain point where it was just me, and I was like, oh, well, this isn't a band anymore. So then I ended up getting together with two other guys, and we formed a kind of weird surf rock, indie rock kind of band called Mossy Chops. It was a three-piece, and then kind of sad point, the bassist ended up dying, and the drummer and I were kind of just like couldn't really put it back together because he was such an integral part of the band. And it was around that time also that I was getting really frustrated with writing music, and I knew that there was much more out there to write. Like, I knew there were more notes and chords on the guitar than what I was like playing, but so I actually ended up going to college to get a degree in music composition. And
Where did you go?
did that. I went to CSU.
Oh, cool.
So I went through their program, which helped me out a lot, and that kind of, during that time, that kind of re-sparked my interest in electronic music. Because I think if you study classical music and or like concert music and any sort of composition, you end up getting into the 20th century, where a lot of concert composers were doing electronic music as part of their pieces, be it with chamber ensembles or actually just as electronic pieces themselves. So in studying like guys like Varese and Raymond Scott was really big influence, and blanking on another one. I can't think of it, but starts with a K. That's irritating. Anyhow,
you just had a Rick Perry moment.
Yeah. Stockhausen. Wow. Okay, could not think of that name, but yeah, Stockhausen. Seeing what they were doing, and then we all had to take a computer music class. So during that time, I actually started writing more electronic music and getting more into doing that, and remembered how much I loved doing it. So from there, after I graduated and stuff, I just went right into doing electronic music. Bought back turntables after I had already sold them, and had gotten rid of all.
So when did you first get turntables? When you were like a teen?
Yeah, I think it was 99. Yeah, I was probably a freshman or sophomore in high school, and I was really into like Invisibl Skratch Piklz and Mixmaster Mike, as well as like a lot of like DJs, a lot of the Chicago house DJs, and really into drum and bass as well, like AK-1200 and Diesel Boy. So, watching them do all that stuff, I was really into doing that. And I had a couple friends, actually, that also did electronic music. One guy that I went to high school with, or actually, I went to high school with Emeralds, the experimental electronic group, and then Steve Hoschel, who has a pretty successful solo career outside of Emeralds. Yeah, he was a good friend of mine in high school, and so like all of us were really into electronic, and yeah, so that was.
When you first got turntables, were you mixing or were you scratching right away?
Scratching right away. That was always like the thing that I wanted to do, because I did do a lot of mixing as well. I have some old cassettes around here from the late 90s, early 2000s of my like first mixes. Oh, first mixes and stuff. They're really probably embarrassing. I don't know. I won't even listen to them.
I'll have to take that.
But yeah, yeah. If you want some bonus material,
Your embarrassing mixes.
Yeah. So I was kind of always into like doing both of mixing and scratching, and then. I think at one point I had like 4 turntables and would like mix and scratch and stuff, and was just really, really into it. That's basically all I did in high school, was just kind of hide in my parents' basement and do that. But yeah, I mean, it was always, the scratching part, because I felt like that was being more part of the music, and it was more physical involvement with the music. I sometimes do DJ mixes now, out and about and stuff, and I've had to do like a couple like 4-hour DJ sessions and stuff, and I mean, like,
it's kind of a nightmare.
yeah, it's really fun for like the first hour, and then after that, I'm just like, is it too lazy to just get a like bar stool and just kind of sit down and do the rest of this? Because I mean, it's just there are people who love doing it. I just don't think I'm one of those people. So yeah.
So do you find that people, especially I guess in Cleveland, where it's not super popular, you find people are confused by the turntablist thing and just think that you're up there. Tunes, not scratching or doing kind of a routine that you're doing.
Most recently, some of the gigs that I've been offered. One was to DJ like a fundraiser for like family and children. And I told her, I was like, that's really, really nice of you to think of me. I really appreciate it, but I don't have a copy of Uptown Funk. So it's just really like, that was just kind of the way that I'm like, I don't have any of this music. Like, I have stuff that's not offensive. Absolutely. That's most of my music. I don't really listen to like really offensive stuff, but at the same time, it's certainly not stuff that kids are going to want to hear. And then I got also offered to do like a rave at a Comic-Con for teenagers.
Wow.
And I mean, it's just like, I don't do like that kind of, EDM or anything like that. So a lot of people assume that like when I'm a DJ, it's generally like electronic dance music is what most people assume that it is. And when I say turntablist, because I've been, kind of advertising myself as a turntablist, people just assume, oh, it's just someone who uses turntables. So you do dance music then, right? And it's just like, I understand, because turntablism was never something that was top 40. It was never that popular. So, I mean, I don't hold it against.
Except for a brief period in the 90s when rap rock was very huge.
Well, yeah, as we discussed, DJ Linkin Park is the greatest. But it's apart from that really great time in rap rock, it was there really wasn't like much of the way. Mixmaster Mike, I think, was probably the closest to becoming.
And that's going to be more because of
Beastie Boys. Yeah. I mean, no one really listens to like Mixmaster Mike's solo records.
Eye of the Cyclops.
Eye of the Cyclops is
good.
That is on my like top 5. You asked me like 5 tracks that I really liked.
Of course.
Eye of the Cyclops is that's such a good album.
It's a super good album. It blew me away the first time I listened to it. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was gonna say, speaking of EDM, obviously we live in a time now where electronic music there was a time when it was kind of weird. And now it's kind of considered cool and even bro-ish. Do you think that kind of attention has been good for electronic music, or do you think that it's somewhat, I don't know, obnoxious?
It's the new pop music. I don't really see it as I don't really think that it's necessarily good or bad for electronic music, because turntablists still don't often get put on shows where it's EDM because someone's like, oh, I'm really into electronic music, and you're like, well, how about this? And they're like, that's not what I meant. And so it's good for the guys that are doing electronic dance music. I mean, certainly, in the 80s and early 90s, it was kind of unheard of to have like the kind of following that it has now.
Yeah, like the DJ to be the rock star.
Right. And now guys, like Avicii or Skrillex. My references are a little dated, but
Those would have been mine. I don't know.
Now they're. It's always good when you see anyone in electronic music make it. And I mean, I think that we did kind of see a little bit of that in the late 90s with the Chemical Brothers, Fatboy Slim, Crystal Method.
Moby.
Yeah, Moby. They're all like, that was like the big beat era, and break beats and stuff when that kind of became popular. And I feel like people were maybe a little more forgiving of that because it wasn't like obvious dance music. It was kind of funk and hip hop inspired. Yeah. But now that it's just like it's dance music, I think it's easy to take jabs at it because, I mean, just as it was with any pop music or disco or anything like that, like it's easy to not like stuff that makes people dance and feel happy. You know, like where it's like it has the appearance of not having the same intrinsic artistic value, you know, as something that's difficult.
For both of them,
Oh, exactly. So I mean, I wouldn't take anything away from Avicii, but you know, it's just for the rest of us that are doing different types of electronic music. You know, be it like what Steve Hochschildt's doing, or you know what I'm doing, or Kid Koala. You know, I mean, there may be a little bit more of acceptance, but whether or not that music's actually getting out there and getting heard, I don't know. I don't think it really is. So.
Well, I think you kind of hope that if people are getting into Avicii or something else, that maybe they'll dig a little deeper.
Yeah, but you know, speaking
like
musician,
door or something.
Right? Speaking musician, yeah, we would do that. Yeah, right. But like if you're you know, just the type of person who just likes to listen to music and just, I mean, which is something I've never understood, but I've totally appreciated. It's, you know, that a lot of people don't dig deeper, and it's fine, but you know, it's just that sort of is like, well, if it's not being presented to them, they're not going to listen to it. Right. So
for some people, it's just background music, background noise, which is weird to me, but yeah.
I could never work with background music. I used to work at Office Max way back in the day, and they had the worst radio station playing. And every now and again, it was when the Shins released "Wincing the Night Away." Every now and again, a Shins song would come on, and I would run away from customers and just listen to that song. It was Australia, I think, was the one that would come on, and just listen to that as a moment of just like serenity, away from all of the like. It's a genre of music that I can only describe as Sheryl Crow. You know, it's like it's that
That's
kind.
Sheryl Crow's not genre.
Yeah, it's the Sheryl Crow. The stuff that you walk into a Family Dollar, it will be Sheryl Crow music. It's not necessarily Sheryl Crow, but that's her own genre.
I remember I worked at a bookstore, and we were only allowed to play like the same 5 really smooth jazz CDs. And when my boss would leave, we would try to put something in there. And me and my friend, like Kid A came out of time, we would put it on, and we would get all these crazy complaints from customers that it made them want to kill themselves.
Really?
Yeah,
they were just
like we had 2 people who were very strong about it. Like it was such a big deal, and we were confused. We're like, what part of it is doing that to you?
Yeah.
It's a little moody, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I don't think of it as like slit my wrist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just lay down in the bathtub and open some Veins music. It's not, I mean.
Apparently it is if you're over like 50 maybe.
I mean, I was in high school listening to that, and I made it out alive, so presumably it's not that strong.
And I've listened to a lot darker stuff probably when I was in high school.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so you're kind of a nerd.
Thanks.
Right? Is that, can we say that?
That's fair.
You've done some stuff, one for theater, and also you have a concept album plan that kind of stems around kind of Dungeons and Dragons-y themes.
Okay.
You want to explain all that?
Sure.
Stuff?
Okay, so for theater, I don't really consider that nerdy. But okay, so
I think it's so.
all right, maybe to a degree. But yeah, for theater, no, I was the Kulas Composer Fellow for Cleveland Public Theater. Not this past season. It's like 2013, I think. Bad on dates, but yeah. So I was the composer fellow there. I've done a lot of music for theater in general. Actually, when I was still in college, I got started doing that because it's always sort of been my my MO to put myself into a genre where there's not many people competing. Therefore, I can't really be judged too harshly. It's purely a defense mechanism. But I was like, oh, no one's really writing music for theater. Why not? It's just like film that it needs music to back itself up. So actually my first, or at least one of my first theater gigs was actually doing a play with Cleveland State University, their theater company. It was called In the Red and Brown Water. And that was a really, really interesting and really, I don't know, it was an important project for me to work on. The director of it, Holly Holsinger, she was absolutely amazing to work with, and I mean, working with someone who has a really clear vision of what they want is always really, really powerful. And so, you know, did that, and then did a couple more works for CPT, and then ended up getting the fellowship alongside 2 other composers here from Cleveland. And Then after the fellowship, I've done work with Theater Ninjas. They're a really great, adventurous theater company to work for. But since then, I've actually kind of backed out of doing theater music. The last one I did was this past spring, but it's just I want to take time to work on my own music, so it's just I'm kind of backing out of that. As for the D&D thing,
the real nerd.
Yeah, the real thing. D&D is one of the greatest games ever made. I absolutely love playing. I've got a group of people that we go on regular adventures.
No
with.
shame.
Yeah, no,
You've
none.
got
So
no shame.
hey, my girlfriend plays with me,
Wow.
so it's like yeah.
That's a lucky find.
Well, I play all with theater people actually. Everyone that I play with works in theater, and that is the best way to do a role-playing game because it's improv. This is routine stuff for them, so it's super fun. The long unfurling adventure that we're on. I'm gonna stop saying adventure. Campaign. And
Campaign's like isn't that what they call it officially?
yeah,
It's
it's a
I had
campaign.
a friend who was a nerd, so
Oh, but you not so much.
I can't say I've ever played D&D. No.
Oh, it's not for everybody, but it's great. I love it, and
I'm not
so
judging.
so the album that I'm working on is having a corresponding Dungeons and Dragons adventure with it. It's kind of combining a lot of worlds for me. This album, like a part of why I liked doing music for theater was because it was telling stories with music, and I've always liked releasing albums that have some sort of story arc, some sort of through line, even if it's not necessarily obvious. I like to have everything kind of feel like it belongs in this like set, and like track one has to be here and the last track has to be here. So with this D&D adventure, I'm kind of scoring a story. A friend of mine who is a dungeon master is writing the story. You're so taken back by all of this.
This is great. This is good stuff.
Okay, all right. And
the merging of turntablism
and D&D, finally. I know, right?
I think that's something that's from years in the making.
Well, they both started around the same time. They're both like inventions of the late 70s, early 80s, and actually D&D might have been like 74, 75, but so it's I have this whole kind of story, but for me it's more about like what are the elements of this story that are like really important to me, because in this album there's a lot of like themes of death, and how death is not necessarily the end, and how basically you keep on living in a manner of speaking. Every action that you take creates, it's like the butterfly effect kind of thing, and there's no way to live without making some sort of impact. Whether you live for a day or for 150 years, you're making an impact on at least one thing. And that's kind of like been like the undercurrent of the entire album, and I wanted to kind of add this D&D adventure to it as well, so that people can kind of join me in my world. Is it going to come with like a book or? Yep. That is the plan. It's I think because of all of this, because it's such a grandiose idea, it's going to take forever for it to come out. I was shooting for January, and at this rate, I'd be happy if it's done by spring. I just keep on.
Well, yeah, it's a big undertaking.
Yeah, so I am trying to release something, maybe like just like a small 7-inch or something before the album comes out, because it was almost a year ago to like this week sometime that my last EP came out, and I've only released like one new track online since then. When I'm playing live sets, I'm always incorporating new tracks from the album, that I'm working on, but just not having anything out there, I kind of don't like that, because it kind of feels like I'm not, producing anything. In this day and age, it's like if you don't put something out regularly, it's not. When we were younger, it was like someone put a record out
every 2 years, and that was totally fine.
Right, yeah. I remember every 2 years Beck came out with an album, and that was great. And
now it's like he needs to come out with one like every 3 months.
Yeah, and like
a song or something.
And I see like these producers, like Fortet. I swear to God, releases a new album like every week.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous his output. I mean, for me, writing music takes a long time because so much of it is sample based that. I have to find all these right samples. Yeah, it's a lot of digging, and then on top of it, I generally take like 1 or 2 core samples, and then there's like there will be like maybe an extra 30 plus samples on top of that, but kind of getting everything so that it's all within the same pitch, within the same key, and then also doing added production on top of it, and the drums.
I was going to say, so a lot of your stuff is very sample-based, but you also are playing your own stuff or programming stuff on top of it as well?
Yes, yeah, I do a lot of almost all of the drums are, from me playing out on MPD, little drum pads and stuff, and then...
which you'll be able to see on #CityShow.com.
Yes, yeah. We're gonna
in a video special. Yeah.
We're gonna take a little tour, and then I also play bass guitar. I mean, I play a number of instruments. I taught myself how to play guitar, and from there, bass guitar. So a lot of bass lines are added into that. And that was partially out of necessity. I have this weird thing where I hate synthesized bass. I like it when other people do it, but when I do it, it always just feels like that should have been an actual bass, and I have this weird thing about it. So
I really like synthesized 80s R&B bass a lot.
Yeah, like the DX7 kind of FM synthesis.
Absolutely.
I can't get into like writing. I mean, like I like it when other people do it, but for me, I can't. Like it's just.
I like that clank though.
So I always got to play out the bass. Plus, it feels like I'm a little bit more involved with the song when I'm actually like playing out the bass line. And on a lot of these like vinyl samples, I mean, yeah, you can find like good bass lines, but if I ever want like a clear something, it's generally better for me just to play the bass. And then I also have like percussion, all sorts of tambourines, maracas, bongos, things like that. And then I'm actually working with some people, like Alex Schumann from Half an Animal. His drums appear on a couple of my tracks, and gonna be working with some other people on the album, so it won't be just me, but I mean mostly, but
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, 2 Cleveland questions, I guess.
Okay.
One being, in the land of Civil War beard indie rock, what is it like to be a turntablist in a scene like this? What kind of challenges do you face when that's kind of the norm?
Okay. All right. Sorry. The Civil War beard. You said that, and I just kept on thinking about it, and then started thinking about Cleveland historical sites associated with the Civil War.
Right. There are actual Civil War beards there.
Yeah. I mean, like there's a spot down in like Tremont that used to be like a little fort or something.
I'm talking about lead singers of various bands that I won't name in a podcast.
No. I get it. Having a beard is very in right now.
You have a beard, so I'm not. Yeah. And I'm not mocking beards, but you know what I mean. There's a kind of a thing here.
Yeah, no, the indie rock, scene, stuff like that. I've actually, I've been fortunate enough to be forced into playing shows, not like against my will or anything, but it really actually started with, there was one show, May Hall's Last Minute threw the show together. Half an Animal was the headliner. Then also a guy at the time that went by Styrofoam Cans. He's like an ambient electronic guy. And then there was another band whose name is really vulgar, and I can't exactly remember the assortment of vulgar words used.
I was going to say, you can say it. This isn't any kind of like...
but it's something like Prenatal Cum, I think was the name of the band.
Prenatal Cum.
They were they had a very aggressive and loud 15-minute set, and it was just, I was like, oh, well, I'm on this show, and so that was actually like the first time that I'd actually played a show with indie rock people, like Half an Animal is kind of indie pop and stuff. I mean, before that I was playing like B-side and like open for RJD2 and trying to get in with like the hip hop guys. But I always kind of felt like a little like not hip hop enough for them, because I'm using like all these like 1950s lounge samples and stuff, and it's, it's not like this is not really that hip hop, I guess. Sure. But so I became friends with Half an Animal because they're super great, nice people, and
I've played with them before. They're good.
Yeah. From there, I've actually played like a couple more shows on like indie rock shows and things like that, and it's always been like pretty well received, all things considered. I played like sort of played Neocycle this past weekend.
Oh, right. You got canceled out.
Yeah, I got canceled, but then I still played the Happy Dog show afterwards, which was the after party. And on that bill was also Marcus Allen Ward and Sam Goodwill. Sam Goodwill was from Gil Mantero's Party Dream.
Right.
And it's been really fun to play shows like that, where it's like, I'm doing my thing, and then they have like kind of like weirder indie rock. I mean, I've never played a show with like a straightforward, rock 4-piece or something like that.
But that diversity's good. I like that.
Yeah, and it generally speaking has gone over really well. So I've always kind of enjoyed kind of being a little bit of like an oddball in the scene and stuff like that, and like with your group and kind of like sharing members with Ottawa and stuff. It's right. I'm sure that as well that like it's kind of cool because like maybe not everyone wants to hear like just like 3 indie rock bands on one show.
I agree.
And so you can kind of add that. So I mean our kind of our place in the scene, I think, is it's a little unique, and it's kind of nice, and I'm just trying to learn something from every band that I listen to, and so it's always good to like not just listen to hip hop or not just listen to electronic all day, and then try and make something that is
right.
of yourself. So
well, I always find too when you make a certain type of music, sometimes you end up not listening to it as much.
Yeah.
Just because you're so into it. I remember when I made hip hop music, like in an actual hip hop group, like when I was rapping, like I never wanted to listen to hip hop because I had to play shows with people who were doing it. And, like I heard enough rapping.
Right. Yeah, I definitely get that. I mainly listen to podcasts, stand-up comedy, things that are actually not music at all.
Right.
And then been really into like some like underground disco stuff lately. That's not at all gonna make its way onto this next album, but like it's just good to just kind of like be like, oh, all right, well, this is how they're doing this, and it's always great to listen to stuff that's not you. Yeah.
All right. Well, to wrap it up, I asked you to pick 5 songs, if you can remember 5.
Yeah.
That are your favorite examples of scratching, whether they are turntablism songs or just songs with scratching. What did you come up with?
Okay. It's easy for me to do number 1 because I'm Kid Koala is he's my hero. He's the guy when he released 12-bit blues that really opened up my mind to like what you could actually do with turntablism. I mean, he made a blues record from just a bunch of different blues samples and stuff. So 5-bit blues. It's actually it's one of the more mellow tracks on the album, but it is gorgeous. I mean, it's a really like beautiful, mellow, laid back. But it's still has like then like some points of like aggressive scratching in it. Yeah. That just really like his talent is.
Have you seen him live before?
Yes, I saw him. Actually, I only caught like the last 5 minutes of his set when he opened for Arcade Fire last year, and then I saw him open for Deltron 3030, which
I was at that too. But I saw him at the Old Grog, and he just had like a stack of records, and he would use them, then he would just throw them.
Yeah.
And then by the end, there was just like piles of shit all over the stage.
I saw him when he did his set with Deltron. Yeah, he was just like chucking them on the floor.
Yeah, he just.
I'm like, must be nice to own a record cutter, huh?
Yeah. He's got like 10 copies. He's got like 100 copies of each record. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody goes out there and cleans it up. I don't know.
And maybe they're really more durable than we think.
Yeah,
but he's that and his remix of Moon River. Oh man, that's some good stuff right there. 5-bit blues by Kid Koala from 12-bit blues. 2, Frontier Psychiatrist by the Avalanches from their album Since I Left You, which just I say that one because that's the one with the most predominant scratching, but if you're going to just listen to, you gotta, this is not to you, but to the listener, listen to the whole album, even if you don't really like,
it's a very cohesive record.
It's amazing. I mean, it's like, you've got a lot of really great like disco points and a lot of really great funk points. And then, it gets a little bit more electronic towards the end, but still really like just incredible. And I had heard, I don't know if this is just like a rumor, but it like has like the world record for most amount of samples in an album or something like that. Has something like over.
I think I read the same thing.
Yeah, it has like over 1,000 samples, which is just really.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, given that I don't think that they were really like a DJ crew before that either. They were kind of an indie rock band.
They were an indie rock band, yeah.
Yeah. And okay, so number 3. This is another probably listen to the whole album, but Turntable TV. It's the first track off of Wave Twisters by DJ Q-Bert. Sorry if this is like picking like Beatles track 1 off of like Abbey Road or something. But
I do guarantee people are listening are not as nerdy about it.
All right, if you're really into turntablism, it's an obvious pick.
Right.
But yeah, that is just that opening track is just really, really killer. And for anyone that hasn't seen it, it has a corresponding animated film with it.
It's on Hulu right now.
Oh, it is?
You can watch that.
I'll have to watch it again because that is weird.
Not that
and
I'm plugging Hulu, or we're not sponsored by Hulu or anything.
I still have to pay for it, so that's
I do too.
But yeah, that's it's an amazing and uncomfortable watch. The part with the dentistry is the part that I'm always like, it's a little. It's
definitely weird.
Yeah, and then I don't know if we talked about this on mic or not, but my 4th pick, Mixmaster Mike.
I don't think we did on mic.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Eye of the Cyclops. Though if you're looking for it on iTunes, it's now under Return of the Cyclops. It's like there's a bonus edition or whatever, and it's got like a couple extra tracks that, But yeah, Bazooka Kanyon. That was always my favorite off of it because it just has some really, really great like funk squeals in it, and it's just that one's really great. And then the last one, I think the name of the track is Fight Wars. It's off of Invisibl Skratch Piklz Sugar Fragger Show Volume 5, which may be available. I think it's available on Spotify. I'm not.
I think so.
But try not to support Spotify.
Right.
That's very important to go buy on Amazon. I think you can find it used. But yeah, that was Invisibl Skratch Piklz was Q-Bert. Was Mixmaster Mike still in it at that point, or because he like dipped in and out of that group?
Yeah, he did. I don't know if he was at that point.
And then there was D Styles, Yoda Frog, and wasn't there another guy? Flair?
There's one other.
Was Shortcut?
Shortcut.
Yeah.
Shortcut. Yeah,
Okay.
Shortcut.
I think Flair was also in it for a little bit too.
Maybe like briefly.
Yeah.
In and out. They're all kind of incestuous.
Yeah, it was like anyone that had was a good scratch
Yeah.
DJ in San Francisco.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, that's but yeah, those Sugar Fragger shows, they're just really great and just showing like the. I mean, I feel like in the 90s is when we got into like the really super technical scratching.
Yeah.
And that was. Yeah, I think like the Sugar Fraggers, the whole series is really, really great and informative to listen to. It's maybe not like the best like easy listening music or whatever. I mean, like I think certainly like Since I Left You or 12-Bit Blues is going to be a lot more easy to listen to if you're just like a casual listener of turntablism. Sugar Fragger Show is definitely if you want to get really, if you want to get deep into it, that's where it's at. Yeah.
That's good. That's a good even mix there. You'll be able to. We'll have links actually to all 5 of those songs at #cityshow.com. So if you're interested in hearing any of those songs, you can do it there. I want to thank you again, P. Stoops, for being on the show.
Hey, thank you for having me.
And
it was awesome.
We will be following everything you do, and hopefully we'll get that record out in January so we can. Maybe we'll have you back on then.
Sure.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
All right, thank you.